All righty, welcome back to the Big Show. Folks, if you haven't already, make sure you give us whatever platform you're on a like, a love. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. All right, I asked, it's Bake Cookie Day, right? Has anyone baked cookies? Suzanne Ingham says, of course. I'm Mama and Nana, Cookie Monster. All right, Suzanne's going to be making us some cookies, folks. We've got Kristen Souza says, yes, we had a cookie exchange this weekend, 8 dozen cookie varieties to choose from. All right. And yeah, we didn't get any, Kristen. We didn't get any. Headley and Swan says, yes, but I prefer to eat the dough. It actually tastes better than the baked cookie. I do like some cookie dough. I used to kind of get in Nana's there when she weren't looking. Renee Simmons says, of course, sugar cookies, oatmeal raisin cookies, peanut butter cookies. I have to be in the mood though. How can we get you in the mood to bake some cookies? If you all haven't realized yet, I may not bake cookies, but I'm gonna eat some cookies. Emily Gail Dill says, I bake cookies, favorite thing to do with little people. All right, so I guess I gotta go up the country, as we say, get myself some cookies. Well, we were supposed to have a guest this morning, folks, but don't see her on camera and ready to go. But oh, well, I guess we will. Right. Well, let's give a warm TDH welcome to Zarah Siddiqi. We're going to be talking about healthcare. We're going to be talking about what Bermuda Is Love is doing as far as healthcare. And as you heard with Maya's news break, it was a very interesting one as far as healthcare and people in certain fields. So let's give a warm TDH welcome to our guest for the day, Zarah Siddiqi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Do you bake cookies?
So I use the pre-made cookie dough that you can get from Lindo's, but if I was into that baking lifestyle, I would bake some cookies.
Okay, cool. So you do better than me. You do more. You
But
actually
that
use
dough is good. That dough is really good.
it's
Don't
good.
let anyone tell you it's not.
See, there you go. I'm gonna try that. You just gave me an in. So I'm gonna get some pre-made cookie dough, and you all can make fun of me because it's good dough, and my cookies are gonna come out well.
10
Anyway,
minutes maximum,
10,
and you'll have some delicious cookies.
10 minutes to make.
10 minutes.
You just made my
I don't
day.
know what preservatives are in that dough, but let me tell you, it tastes good.
Hey, thanks
10
for that.
minutes.
10 minutes.
Disclaimer.
She just gave me that disclaimer, folks. But Zarah, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for
And before we
having me.
jump into the conversation, we have Bermuda Is Love and Bermuda Youth Connect, a part of this show pretty often because the work that everyone is doing as a part of these organizations is critical to Bermuda today, tomorrow, and for the greater future. But just tell the audience a bit about yourself and your connection to Bermuda Is Love.
All right. So my name is Zarah Siddiqi. I'm 16 years old and I go to Summersfield Academy. So Bermuda Is Love. Well, I don't know if you guys know too much about Bermuda Is Love, but essentially, Bermuda Is Love is a community organization dedicated to ensuring the basic human rights for all. And when I say human rights, of course, not able to target every single human right there is, but Bermuda Is Love targets things like access to justice, access to clothing, access to education, access to food, access to healthcare, and sort of promoting a better and healthier environment. And they do this by organizing events that take place weekly or bi-weekly on the weekends, free of charge, no sign up required. And every single event ties into a specific human right, if that makes sense. So I'll give you an example. This month, December, well, mind you, Bermuda Is Love releases different campaigns for each month of the calendar year. So this month is actually empathy in action, sort of trying to promote and cultivate understanding for the greater community and a more collectivist mindset rather than individualist. So we do events such as like clothing drives, blood drives, book drives to promote, that sense of love and community here in Bermuda. And let me speak about last month, November, which is what compelled me to write the Healthcare, a Right, Not a Privilege article. The campaign was hashtag Your Health, Your Future. So Bermuda Is Love was sort of doing their part in making sure all Bermudians have equal access to adequate healthcare. We did this by organizing a variety of events. So there was blood drives. There was also talks about healthcare, what it means, and informative sessions, because a lot of people are ignorant to a lot of problems with healthcare, and not by choice. The word ignorant sort of comes with a negative connotation, so forgive me for using that. But in all reality, I think ignorant just means you don't have the knowledge needed to sort of thrive in that sense. Like it's not your fault that you're unsure of
Mm,
what it is, but this is why so many different organizations, but specifically Bermuda's Love, is doing their part to
mm.
make sure you know you know about what you need to know about in this day and age.
Indeed. Sorry, I'm stuck that you're only 16. Wow, I didn't realize that. But in terms of, I just want to touch on that. I think you're right. I use the term ignorant because the truth is we're all ignorant to many things. I think it comes with accepting and understanding that we have something to learn about a particular topic. So I'm glad that you've written that article and that you've taken that on within the organization. But speak on the importance of healthcare from your perspective.
Okay, so let me start with a little personal story. A week ago, last Wednesday, I got really sick. You could
Mhm,
probably still hear the effects lingering in my voice, so forgive me for
mhm,
that. But when I woke up with that sore throat, or when I used like 100 tissues that night and couldn't breathe out of my nose,
mhm,
um, my first thought wasn't fear. You
mhm.
see, I wasn't afraid of, is this the end? And I know that sounds like an exaggeration to so many people, but it's not. It's the reality for millions, even billions. It's like when I woke up, I wasn't afraid of what would happen to me tomorrow because my first thought was, "Oh, I'm sick. Maybe I should go to the doctor."
Mhm,
And that's not a privilege I have, that's a right.
mhm,
So it's sad that so many people don't have this right because Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights actually states that every human deserves to have the basic and adequate access to healthcare needed for them to live a happy and healthy life.
mhm, mhm,
So when I woke up, my first thought was I can go to the doctor. But so many people, and this is not just the issue that we feel is so far away, this happens in our backyard. So many people in Bermuda, so many people in the parish you live in can't wake up and say, I'm going to go to the doctor.
mhm,
Because that's just not and I don't even want to use the word luxury, but that's just not a right that they have,
mhm,
which isn't okay. I mean, a lot of times we say like, oh, that's not a basic right that X, Y, and Z has. But at the end of the day, that's a violation to the Human Rights Constitution. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, this was released in 1948. I mean, the anniversary for it is December 10th, so we just celebrated that a few days ago, or rather commemorated.
mhm,
It's been around for a long time. So the fact that there are still so many things violating the basic human rights constitution, and mind you, these are basic needs. Like on the
mhm.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like these are at the bottom, like having access to food and water, healthcare, lights, etc. That's here. And yet there are still so many people that are down here.
It's interesting because when I go to the doctor or anywhere, dentist or wherever, the first question they ask you is for your insurance. That shouldn't be the first question they ask you. The first question they should be asking is, how can we help you? Or what is wrong? Or what, that it hit me. Like the first question they ask is usually insurance. And it's almost like, okay, so if this person doesn't have insurance, are you saying that they're less than and we should not help them or we can't help them? This is an important conversation. And I'm glad that someone, and I don't mean this in a demeaning way, but someone so young is so passionate about this because, as I said earlier, I mentioned maternity leave as an example in the United States, and it wasn't until I was in graduate school that I learned that the U.S. was one of probably 8 countries that doesn't have maternity leave within law. And again, as long as you can get people to believe that they're living comfortable or they have a good life or a better life or a great life, then they're not going to fight for these things. I remember when my second job in the US, she was about 22, just graduated college and making $13 an hour. And we spoke on healthcare because at that time it was this big thing about universal healthcare in the US. And her thing was, well, they get paid less in Canada. Yeah, healthcare may be included, but they get paid less. And I think that mentality, that's again, it goes back to what I was saying about if you can convince people they're living better where they are than anywhere else in the world, then they'll think making more is better than having the basic right to healthcare. But the question now comes is what do young people like yourself, what do Bermuda Is Love, what do you guys do to change this? Oops, I think she's frozen, folks, but it's just me. But you get what I'm saying, and I want to share this. Shamari Talbot Ward says insurance companies are literally a for-profit middleman between people and their healthcare. They don't provide healthcare. Yeah, they are. Um, I don't understand. I've never understood why healthcare needs to be so expensive. I don't believe that healthcare is something that should be for profit. And I know we can sit here, all of us, we can sit here and say, well, we contribute as individuals to our, healthcare situations by what we eat or our lack of activity. But no, it's bigger than that. But let me bring Zara back in. Zara, sorry about that. You became a popsicle. You got frozen.
Sorry, the Wi-Fi cut.
No problem, no problem. It happens. It's technology. But I was saying before you froze, I was just speaking about maternity leave and just people entering spaces. And I used the example of a friend I had when she graduated college. She spoke about, well, they may get healthcare in Canada, but we make more money here. And that being the mentality of making people believe that they have a better life here than they would elsewhere simply because of what they make rather than what they have. But what is Bermuda Is Love doing? What are you all doing to change the mentality to get people to understand that what you said, this is a right, not a privilege? Like everyone deserves access to this.
So I'll tell you a bit about Bermuda's Love more collectively rather than just focusing on the healthcare. So you could hear me, right? Sorry, I moved.
Yes.
But essentially, I think this ties into the name Bermuda Is Love. This also touches on the whole capitalist society thing and how like our correlation with healthcare is money. When we say Bermuda is love, I think the use of the word love really promotes and cultivates the idea that what the founders of Bermuda's Love do, what everyone involved with the community does, is love. Like essentially what their goal on this island is to do is to promote joy, happiness, love, and community. Community is a big thing that I think has a big correlation with the word love. They're not trying to get compensation for activating these human rights. What they're actually trying to do sort of is like, educate and inspire Bermudians to take the proactive steps necessary towards improving their island. Bermuda Is Love doesn't do what they do so they can be recognized and so they can be validated. They do it for the betterment of Bermudians. And I think that's what it means to sort of not have your first thought always be money. Sort of like you said about we make more money. This is why this country is better than this one. But it's like, why is healthcare correlated with money? I mean, healthcare is like a live or die. Like a quote that I, heard once was, you can have a million problems until it's a health problem, then you only have one problem. Healthcare isn't something that we can look at and say, okay, you give me surgery, I owe you this much money. Like, thank you. And doctors do so much, don't get me wrong. But the fact that our first initial thought is, how much is it going to cost? Do you know how much an ambulance costs in Bermuda?
How much?
$1,000. I just checked that out. I mean, I'm probably in the US as well. Like, for an ambulance, in an emergency, life or death situation, because mind you, you're not getting an ambulance just because you feel like it for fun. So how can we sort of look at healthcare and think you only deserve it if you have this much money? So I actually touched on this a bit in my article, but take disabled people for an example. And this also ties into the whole insurance thing. You can't get you can get healthcare, but it's very difficult if you're not, on an insurance plan. And in order to be on an insurance plan, you have to obviously have a job, a good job at that. So many disabled people are unable to get a job, and that's evident in Bermuda many times. However, that also violates the International Labor Organization's law, which states that all disabled people must have equal treatment and equal opportunities by, providing reasonable accommodation in the recruitment process, on the job, etc. However, so many disabled people are turned down at job interviews. So many disabled people are unable to get into their employment place. How can they enter it? For example, stairs, etc. So many barriers to actually working. And then these disabled people are the people who need access to healthcare more than anyone. Yet they're the ones who are unable to get jobs. They're the ones who are unable to have insurance. They're the ones who cannot afford it.
Mm, mm,
So what does
mm,
that mean? It'd be one thing if it was people like you and I who couldn't afford it because, okay, God forbid anything happens, we're healthy.
mhm.
But disabled people who are already at a disadvantage in life due to the way that their bodies are created are also, in so many cases here in Bermuda, especially, unable to work because whilst we're progressive and we're taking steps towards a better future, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, this is a hard conversation that needs to be had, and it doesn't need to be had just today. It needs to be. It's an ongoing conversation. Again, I completely agree with you. Healthcare is a right. It's something that everyone should have access to. I think I read somewhere recently that if you don't have health insurance, I don't know if this is in Bermuda, but I want to say the US, and you want to apply for it, they need to know what diseases you have and so on. And, before they give you coverage, I mean, I'm just like, that's crazy to me. People,
I think
I think people need to understand the cost of not having healthcare insurance. And a lot of people who watch this show may have health insurance due to jobs. But to understand the true cost of healthcare insurance is to go without it to see what people are dealing with.
yeah, and I think a lot of time people don't understand that it can be proactive rather than reactive.
Correct.
Healthcare isn't something that you only need to focus on once the person is already in a life or
Hmm.
death situation.
Hmm.
Like, this is why we have yearly checkups, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's great and it's wonderful that we have that, but not everyone has it. I have
Correct.
it. On my 16th birthday, I went to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for that, but
Hmm.
not everyone can. A lot of people turn
Hmm.
16 without being able to go to the doctor.
Correct. And this is true, and that shouldn't be a thing. Shamari Talbot Orich says, great job, Zara. Renee Simmons says, absolutely. Bermuda should have long had national healthcare system. Sorry, had a national healthcare system, being one of the richest countries in the
Yeah.
Western Hemisphere. It's a basic human right. Yes. Why is money put on healthcare? And I think that's just capitalism. And as I said earlier, these are the bad parts of capitalism. And I'm not going to get into capitalism versus socialism and all the isms. I'm not going to do that today. But we have to address what's before us. And this is something that I don't think we talk about enough. I don't think we understand it enough. And I appreciate the work that Bermuda Is Love is doing. Shamari Talbot Orich says, I know a person who lost their job, hence lost their insurance, and ultimately died because they needed a life-saving procedure. It's crazy. Zara, we don't talk about this, but there are a lot of people who lose jobs, and most of us, most of the community thinks, oh, they're just losing income. No, they're losing healthcare, they're losing benefits, they're losing a lot more. And so I'd encourage people, man. This is where community comes in so handy. I said earlier, it's not a good thing when people have GoFundMe pages. It's not.
Yep.
We should not be in a space where if something happens to one of our friends that we need to create a GoFundMe page. That's not something we should
I
be
mean,
celebrating.
think about the fact that Bermuda has the fourth highest GDP per capita in the world.
Mm. Yeah.
That is the country that we live in.
Hmm.
But so many people are at a place where they don't know where their next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
We have some things to address, but Zara, this has been a pleasure having you on this morning, and definitely I love when we have people from Bermuda Is Love on this show. The energy, the education, and information. Again, many of us are ignorant to something, right? None of us is perfect. None of us know all of everything. And my hope is that when these conversations happen, we become a more empathetic as well as educated on topics like this. So thank you so much for stopping by, and just let people know how they can get in touch with you or learn more about Bermuda Is Love.
Okay, so thanks so much for having me. I mean, it was a pleasure. Sorry that my Wi-Fi cut out for a minute, but I thought this conversation was super important and meaningful and great to have. And thanks everyone for still watching. So how you can get involved with Bermuda Is Love? It is super easy. Like, honestly, don't be intimidated at all by anyone there, because one thing about the people at Bermuda Is Love and everyone is that it's a no judgment zone. but like 100%. I have never, not once, felt a little bit judged or embarrassed being there. I'm also like young, so it's like when I first sort of heard about Bermuda's Love and wanted to get involved because I thought what they were doing was incredible and something that I'm super interested in, human rights, law, etc. I was a little nervous, like most people are when, talking to someone new. But they're all so welcoming and kind-hearted and genuinely have a care for Bermuda that all of that goes right out the door when you go to an event. Like these events being free of charge and no sign up needed are perfect because check out their Instagram at BDA is Love or a website, bermudaslove.com, X, Bermuda is Love, Facebook, any social media platform you can think of. The username is either BDA is Love or Bermuda is Love because Bermuda is a bit long. There they have all the events that you can go to, 6 or 7 per month. So yeah, different campaigns. Check us out. And thanks again for having me.
No worries. Thank you, Zara. Have a wonderful holiday. And yeah, look forward to having a chat with you guys in the new year. Talk soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, Zarah Siddiqi, folks, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like, whatever platform you're on. Make sure you share that most important conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We're going to take our final break. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 41 seconds. And we've got a daily play coming up. We want to see who gets this one right. Stick with